My 1995 Lexus SC300 recently developed a problem. The power mirrors quit working. They don't even try to move. A quick web search yielded several useful posts in the Lexus forums. One very helpful post by user Bought New on the Club Lexus forum included a PDF attachment containing 7 photocopied pages from a Lexus service manual. This document provides all the step-by-step instructions for troubleshooting non-working power mirrors on a 1992 to 2000 Lexus Sport Coupe. Let's start with a quick overview of the document. On the first page, there's a diagram of the car showing the locations of all the components that make up the power mirror system. On page 2, there's a wiring diagram of those same components with the outside rearview mirror ECU, or electronic control unit, at the center. All of the tests that we will be performing revolve around this ECU. For example, we will run voltage and continuity tests on each of the wires represented as lines in the schematic. We'll also test some of the components while they're disconnected from the ECU, like the mirror switch and the mirror motors. I'm going to scroll down to page 7 next because it outlines the troubleshooting process. The lower left corner of this chart lists common types of trouble exhibited by the power mirrors. In my case, it's the first problem. My mirrors don't move at all. Based on that, the chart tells us which components to test and in what order. The top of the chart provides the service manual page numbers where you can find the relevant tests to perform. This document doesn't contain the pages for the 2 fuse tests, but we don't really need them. The pages that we do need are included in the packet. So let's get started with priority number 1, the fuse tests. Of the 2 fuses, this dome fuse looks simpler, so let's begin with that. According to the owner's manual on page 217, our dome fuse is number 21. And on page 215, fuse 21 is in the engine compartment fuse box, which is right here. Let's pop that open. The inside cover lists out where the fuses are located. This 10 amp fuse at the top middle is marked dome. That would be this red fuse up here. There are a couple of ways to check your fuse. One is to take this fuse tool out of the cover and you can come in here and grab it and wiggle it loose and do a visual test to see if that loop of filament is broken or not. In my case, it doesn't appear to be broken. Put the fuse back, you can just shove it in with your hand. You don't necessarily need to use the tool. It just pops back in there. Another way to test your fuse is with just a plain old test light, and you clip it onto your negative terminal and then come over here to test the positive juice, and you can test both sides of the fuse to make sure that it's working. If you don't have a test light but you do have a multimeter, just set it to DC voltage. Put your negative probe on the battery, positive probe on your fuse, and you should see your voltage pop up to around 12-13 volts. You can check both sides to make sure it's good. Okay, so we have a good dome fuse. According to the diagnostics, we have to check radio number 2 fuse, and in the owner's manual on page 216, it says that radio number 2 is fuse number 11. According to pages 214 through 15, fuse number 11 is in the driver's side kick panel fuse box. Alright, so up here under the dash, this is the side kick panel over here, and there's your fuse box. It's easy to open up. You just pinch these 2 tabs on either side towards the middle, and the little cover comes off, And then according to the documentation, that 7.5 amp fuse is the radio number 2 that we're interested in. So in order to test it, I'm going to clip my test light onto this metal bracket here for a good ground. And I'm going to touch the terminal. And we're not getting anything. That's because the ignition switch has to be on the accessory position. Okay, now let's give it a try. That's better. So both sides of the fuse are lighting up. Means I got a good fuse. We can use the multimeter meter like that. All right, I'm grounded. I'm touching my fuse, and we got 12 volts on both sides of the fuse. We got a good fuse. Now that we know the fuses are working, we can continue the troubleshooting process by testing the mirror switch. We'll tackle that in the next video. Keep watching to find out what happens.